The upside to filing early for DACA, even if you are going to get an approval before your current 2-year period expires, is that you're avoiding the unlawful presence issues. You're avoiding the stress of potentially losing your employment authorization. You're avoiding the issues with trying to then get a driver's license renewal, because sometimes just getting the work permit doesn't mean you can the very next day get into the Department of Motor Vehicles and get a renewal for your driver's license. So the benefits to renewing very early for DACA right now really do outweigh the risks of maybe having a few months less time than you had hoped, when overall they should be granting a full 2-year renewal eventually. But for those who, of course, didn't know this was going on, that there have been incredible delays lately with immigration approving DACA renewals. What do you do now, right? So what do you do if you have a current DACA delay? Well, we've certainly been doing our best to help clients in this situation. And the first thing that we tend to look at is whether or not the application has any basic problems with it, right? So sometimes we get consultations where it's not a case that our law office filed. So we're looking to see if maybe the person's diploma was not from a accredited institution. So sometimes there are diploma mills where there weren't actually legitimate degrees awarded. And sometimes clients don't know this. They think that they actually completed like a short online course of study and that they did have a qualifying diploma that would be like a GED or high school diploma equivalent, only to find out that with a little bit of Googling, that the institution that granted that diploma is not a valid one and maybe even gotten into some consumer fraud problems. So there are some lists of different educational institutions out there that just aren't legitimate ones for the purpose of qualifying for DACA in the first place. So we do look at that. We also look to see whether there's any criminal history that may not have been disclosed or something that might be holding up the application in terms of like a substantive problem with it. But most of the time, what we do see is that it is a legitimate DACA application. There's no new fix related to the substantive part of the application, and what we have is just a DACA delay. So then what do we do? Well, USCIS has expedite criteria, and I'm sure many of you watching this have seen the expedite criteria online, but many of you have not, so we'll talk about that. If somebody's going to suffer, for example, extreme financial hardship, if their DACA case is not expedited to get to a decision before their current DACA expires, that's a reason for USCIS to expedite the case. But more often than not, financial hardship is not a successful basis for an expedite. It unfortunately is something that we often cannot get immigration to pay enough attention to. I think part of the perspective on that is that many people should expect to have loss of job, loss of income, problems paying the rent, problem getting a driver's license, some significant financial hardships if that work permit is not granted. So if just about everybody is delayed for DACA approvals right now, it's hard for immigration to say, okay, which financial hardship is strong enough for us to pull this one from the line and expeditiously grant it, compared to the other ones that are pending. Just the same, that doesn't mean you can't try a financial hardship expedite. I think if you do it, though, you really want to make sure that you have good documentation. So, for example, if you have a notification that employment will be ending as of the date of your work permit expiration, and you also have something that will show that your income is fairly minimal, and that you won't be able to afford like basic food or transportation or the ability to have safe housing, like pay your rent, that may work for the financial hardship expedite. But it is rough, and I know that financial expedites are really tough to get approved. It doesn't mean you can't get them approved. We've had some successfully go through, but what I usually tell people is we really need to talk about health instead.